So I'm back doing some live videos every Wednesday for the next few weeks. It's in order to let people know what the next challenge is. And also I was kind of asked to explain why I moved. I moved locations. I've been living in Vancouver for the last 13 years. And I've just recently moved to the Okanagan, which is in the interior of British Columbia. And the reason that I moved was actually multiple. But when I was asked that, I thought, so what was it for me inside myself that made me go, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to uproot, leave things that I really enjoy about Vancouver, my friends, my practice. The city is an amazing city. There's nothing not to love about Vancouver. But I did a club last year that ran for 6 months, and it was a Love the Life You Live club. And in it, I kind of said to people, so what do you love about your life? What really resonates with you is what brings you joy and what makes your heart warm, and what do you love about your life? And in that process myself, I got to realize that while there's a lot of things I do love about Vancouver, there's things that I wasn't actually able to access very easily from here. I'm actually in Vancouver right now. So from here, I couldn't access those things, and that's the outdoors. I love the outdoors. It brings me so much love. And so with that awareness, I started to have a different conversation with my husband and say, so, what are we doing? And here we are at a point in our lives. What can we do? What would we like to do differently? What would we love to do? And we were very fortunate that the opportunity arose that we could actually move towards what we imagine, what we think we will love to do. And the shift for me was, prior to this, I've always kind of moved towards things that make me feel afraid, because my experience with that is often things that make you afraid can freeze you and stop you. And they can also be in your imagination. They can be like, well, that isn't really anything to be afraid of. I grew up in a small town in Jasper, which is an amazing place and gave me the basis of loving the outdoors. But it meant that I was very scared of living in big cities. Traveled through big cities, studied in big cities, but never really lived in a big city. So that was one of my big motivations for moving to Vancouver, was to move towards something I was afraid of and discover if that was a real fear or not. So that was my motivation behind the move to Kelowna. And I wanted to tell you that story because I'm going to launch another challenge in October, and part of it is going to be loving the life you live, and for you to discover and share yourself what you love about your life. And I've extended that a little bit because in my summer, this past summer, the fires were just terrible and the smoke was awful. And while I wanted to go outside and enjoy the outdoors, I couldn't, because I couldn't actually breathe. And that made me feel afraid, and it made me feel like, what's the world coming to? And I started talking to people. When I get challenged by something, I start to research it, I start to look into it. And I thought, instead of doing that all by myself this time, what I would like to do in this challenge is actually open up that door and ask people, what do you do that actually has an impact on climate action? What do you know about that you could do, or what's happening out there that other people are doing? Because what I find myself is that there's an inundation of the fear factor, and the big companies are doing this and that and the other, and we can't do anything to change that. And I fundamentally don't believe that. I believe that we can do a lot to make change. So that's just a little bit of a background about what's been happening for me in this last little bit. And please stay tuned. Check in on Wednesdays if you're interested to learn more about the challenge. It is on my Working with Wellness Vancouver Facebook page, or on my website, workingwithwellness.ca. You can find it either place. I don't know what I'm going to do to change that name, But working with wellness is global, right? It's around the world. So I invite you to check that out. And if it's something that you'd be interested in, please join. If it's something you'd like more questions answered about, just get in touch. Okay, I hope you have a great day. Ciao for now.